Hi, Mr. President. I am Sister Yafa Bay, and you put out a call for people that support you to converge on Washington, D.C. on January the 6th. My 11-year-old daughter, and two other melanin rich women were planning to attend. However, it is such a long trek for me that I will not be able to make the journey. Therefore, I have opted to give you this message in place of my inability to show up. Thank you for publicly standing in defense of Michael Jackson when he was accused of wrongdoing. You did not have to do that, but you did. For your humanitarian support toward the upliftment of melanin rich communities in the 1980s, and for such efforts, uh, Reverend Jesse Jackson did give you more than one award for such support toward our communities back in those days. For that, I want to say thank you for releasing 6,000 to 7,000 melanin rich people who had exceptionally long stints of incarceration for nonviolent crimes, for releasing them. Thank you so much for letting them go home to be with their kinfolk. For having your people take the time to sit down with Ice Cube to discuss Dr. Claude Anderson's Powernomics plan, which your people came up with, the Platinum Plan, when Biden and Kamala could not be bothered. Thank you for making the time for that meeting to occur. For financing historically Black colleges and universities for the next 10 years so that the administrators can continue to run the schools instead of running to Washington, D.C. annually to beg for funding. Thank you for taking the time to make things easier for people trying to instruct the youth of America. For publicly acknowledging that melanin rich people had a massive impact on the building of this country when no one else acknowledges that we did anything. I thank you for that. For blasting the mayor of San Francisco, California, about the enormous number of melanin rich peoples who are homeless on the streets of San Francisco after the federal government gave so much to make that a backward in the past occurrence. You took the time to go down there for yourself to see what was occurring, and you lambasted her for that. I thank you for that. For attempting to put the people of this country first and foremost above foreign interests and corporate interests and politicians' interests, thank you again. For exposing the extremely deep levels of corruption and the utter disdain that the wicked have toward the people on all political and media fronts. I am grateful to you for the transparency that you brought to that whole fiasco and charade. For being bluntly and brutally honest to the point that people can't even accept the amount of blatancy that you communicate with. I appreciate someone who I don't have to guess where you're coming from because you're always going to specifically state it whether people want to hear it or not. That was an honor, and you went into that office making multiple promises, and you tried starting day one from where I sit to keep every promise that you made to the people. Thank you for not being a lying politician. For having a background that is so clean that the people against you couldn't find anything to lord over you, that they had to actually manufacture dirt on you. Thank you for having such a clean background, and for being someone that could not be compromised. I am very aware of the multiple buy-off attempts that were made toward you. You did not accept any bribes. You did not allow anyone to pay you off or buy you off. Your attitude was, I have my own money. I don't need yours. Thank you for that. That is something that the people do need, a not viable, clean president of the United States. For financing the launch of multiple melanin-rich businesses and enterprises way back before you ever became the president. You did not have to do it. But because of you, a lot of melanin-rich people have businesses that you help finance for them when you really didn't have to do it. Thank you for putting your billionaire lifestyle on hold to try to clean up this mess that everyone calls a government. You placed yourself and your family in harm's way without even accepting your presidential paycheck. You are one of the hardest working presidents I have ever seen. For someone who, unlike Congress, never misses a check, never misses a beat, but are forever and a day on break. You're always out there working. I don't know what people are talking about. Every time I see you, you are trying to do the right thing. For calling out the governors that overstepped their authority during the early days of the pandemic by putting people on unreal lockdowns, telling them they could not go to church and that they could not buy soil and they could not buy paint. You called them out for that horrible amount of overreach and let them know that they are violating protected rights and liberties. No, the government does not give anyone rights or liberties. That comes from Creator. The government is supposed to protect that, and you did try to protect that. Thank you for that. For lowering the cost of medical drugs for the people, the prescription drugs, because the people of the United States were paying far more than they ever should have paid. Thank you so much for taking the time to address that matter. For giving veterans alternatives to the horrible treatment of the VA medical tyranny by giving them options, by making it easy for them to get people that were horrible removed from their positions. Thank you for thinking that the veterans mattered enough to clean up the VA. For that, I thank you. I also want to thank you for being one president that not only avoided this country from going to war with anyone, you have this whole entire time been trying to bring the people home from overseas, wanting to know, why are we there? Why are we involved in other people's business? We're over there for free, like we're paid security. We're not being paid for that. These people need to be coming home. You tried on multiple occasions to bring everyone home from overseas. And I thank you for that, because not only did you try to bring them home, you did not let this country to go into any new wars, and you brought peace to multiple places while you've been in office. For that, you should be commended, and I do commend you for that. The one thing that I would like to ask you to do is to see what you can do to remove the qualified immunity that a lot of crooked law enforcement have to mistreat people. They don't qualify for qualified immunity if they have bad character and misbehavior. Many Republicans are experiencing right now the mistreatment of law enforcement for things that make zero sense. Now, on that note, I want to say that the extreme disrespect that you have endured as the President of the United States and the President of these United States by those who are attempting to overthrow the American Republic, the United States, and you. That's three separate things that they're attempting to overthrow. I am an American. And because of that, you are sitting for the Republic at this time. These overt acts of treason against the Republic, the United States, and you are absolutely ridiculous. I think it's an unabashed display of disrespect, the way that they are treating the President of the United States. Now, there are many, many melanin-rich people that are erroneously called Black or African American who don't like to be called either one. The autochtons of America, for the most part, support you and what you're trying to do. No, we do not always like everything you say, but we definitely appreciate the things you are trying to do. Because you're one of the hardest working presidents I have ever seen and one of the most honest presidents I have ever seen. Yeah, every now and then you do a misquote, but I am, as a speaker, can do a misquote, particularly since you don't always come reading from the teleprompter with a prepared speech. Often you go off the cuff and top of your head. But for that, I want to say to you, you are my president, the president, our president, the duly elected president who is still seated as president. And based on that, I feel all of this disrespect and the disdain and the deliberate, blatant, covert attempts at treason need to come to a ceasing, screeching halt ASAP. No matter what people do or don't think of you, they need to respect your office and respect your position. And on that note, I want to say thank you for being, in my perspective, one of the best presidents this country has ever had.